The OnePlus comes with 8 gigs of internal RAM, whereas the Samsung only comes with 6 gigs of internal RAM. That isn't something you'll notice that much unless you're like a heavy gamer or a heavy multitasker, then of course the OnePlus will be to an advantage for you. Both of the phones have a 4500 mAh battery and under the display fingerprint unlock that works as all fingerprint unlocks under the screen works. That's irony. Okay, so the OnePlus was released on the 28th of July 2021, whereas the Samsung was released on October the 2nd, 2020. And both of the phones will receive Android 13. And the OnePlus will also receive security updates until the summer of 2025. Whereas this one will only get 4 years of security updates, and that's always from the release date. That means October 2024, then this was received according to what they promised the last security update. And then just in terms of software on these two phones, if you've heard the Ramaskrig, as it's called in Danish, you will know that Oxygen OS has been re-entered and not Color OS for the OnePlus phones, whereas on the Samsung you still run on the Samsung One UI thing. And you can see basically, if you were to be very rude, you can say the difference is the way they scroll. Of course, it's not that simple. There are some OnePlus specific apps as well as some Samsung specific apps you get with either phone. And of course, it's also a preference what system you are normally used to be in. If you're used to the Oxygen OS, then I would recommend you stay there. And if you're used to the Samsung, I would recommend you stay there. I must admit I'm a bit of a Samsung guy. It's not deliberate, but it's just the way it's turned out to be. You must take into consideration that I test a heck of a lot of phones, so you kind of get to know what operating system that speaks to you the most. I almost forgot to mention the OnePlus Nord 2 comes with MediaTek Dimensity 1200 chipset inside of it, whereas the Samsung comes with the Snapdragon 865 as mentioned in the start. This has something to do with performance, and these are the Geekbench scores on the OnePlus and the Sammy. You can see they are very much alike, scoring a bit higher on the multi-core, the Sammy, but again to a disadvantage in the RAM department, so that would about even out. You can see the lesser RAM there. Also, the wildlife stress test, you can see the phones are also very much performing alike. What you want to look at for the wildlife stress test, it pushes the phone to its maximum in 20 minutes. So what you want to look at for is stability, because if you're a gamer, that will apply to your game to have the most consistent performance. And you can see both of the phones drop around 10% in battery, and they lie between 29 and 43 degrees Celsius. That may seem like a lot actually, but it doesn't come through the chassis that much, so it isn't a problem to hold and play on these two devices. But in general, and to conclude, I would like to recommend both of these phones. These phones are excellent phones, and I think that the OnePlus, you can even see it in super soft comparison with the OnePlus 9 Pro, that this one isn't much behind that. So this one sits exactly where OnePlus should sit as the flagship killers, in my opinion. But of course they can also try to be the flagship, but this one definitely is the flagship killer. It's just such a good phone. And the Samsung S20 FE, it's just been like kind of my secondary go-to phone for all purposes almost. So I would wholeheartedly recommend this phone. It also has almost the same CPU that was in my old Asus 7 Pro, which I also loved a lot. So these two phones, I would give them, if I were to give them stars, I would give this one 4.5 Google stars out of 5, leaning towards the 5, and 4.5 Google stars out of 5, leaning towards the 5. Even if they actually ask like a pretty high retail price, then you will not be disappointed by any of these phones. And if you're gonna make the jump up to super new expensive phones, it's gonna cost you like 2 or 3 times the price of these phones. So you gotta take that into consideration, and of course you are if you're watching this video. My name is Brian from Denmark, your tech friend, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh.